Hello, everybody. Dallisa Hawking here, CEO of Spirit and Spark and fifth generation psychic medium. Welcome to our Tip in 20. I'm so excited to welcome Christina as our guest teacher today. I'm going to read you her bio, at least part of it, because it's better worded than what I'm going to come up with. But I've known Christina for a while now. She's spectacular, and I'm so thrilled that she is now a practitioner and part of the practitioner team for Spirit and Spark. So Christina Woods-Varent is a Rapid Transformational Therapy, RTT also known as, a practitioner and the CEO and founder of Wise Woods Hypnotherapy and Coaching. Christina's warmth and down-to-earth style blend beautifully with her no-nonsense, I will attest to that, and I love her for it, and transformative approach to getting results. Together with the power of RTT, Christina is on a mission to help women get to the root cause and to gain freedom from core subconscious beliefs that are holding them back. We all have those. For example, not being good enough, lack of self-worth, self-sabotaging behaviors, anxiety, depression, and other negative beliefs. In addition to being an RTT practitioner, Christina holds a Bachelor of Arts degree in Communication Studies with an emphasis in interpersonal and organizational communication, as well as a minor in marketing from California State University, Long Beach. Additionally, over her long career as a leader in sales and marketing, Christina has completed numerous trainings and seminars from nationally recognized industry and corporate organizations. Christina is going to give us so many good nuggets today. I'm so glad you're here and you're watching the video. I'm excited. I got my pen, my paper ready. So without further ado, Christina, take it away.
Great. Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here. And, whether you're a man or a woman, we all got limiting beliefs and blocks and so on. So thank you for that, Dallisa. My background before I became a rapid transformational therapist, like you said, was in sales and marketing, but specifically in higher education, selling to young adults in non-traditional education, trade and technical programs. So it was a very emotional sale. It was very much about, am I good enough? Am I smart enough? Can I do this? This is out of the box. I really don't love school. And I mention that because a lot of the practitioners and people that are involved with Spirit and Spark, we're involved in things that are perhaps not tangible or products, but they're services. And so a lot of what we're doing are selling either services, things that are about, that involve an emotional sale, what I call an emotional sale, and that's certainly something that many of you have heard about. So some of the things I want to talk about are what we'll refer to as a consultative sale, an emotional sale. It's not something that you pick up this pen or pencil and say, let's talk about the features and benefits, go ahead and drive this car. But really, how are we going to make that customer or client feel? Because how they feel is really what's going to drive their actions. And so often I think we just forget about what are we doing, what are we saying, and what kind of feeling do we want to leave them with? We get so wrapped up in, does our website look like this, or are we, what button are they going to click, or are we doing what we need to do, that we just can slow down for a moment and really remember that often what's the most important is, are we somebody that they want to talk to? How do we make them feel? So my first bullet point there for consultative sales tips is, this is an emotional sale. And I have sold software. I have trained people across the country. I have actually even sold quite some technical things, and I'm not a technical person. And I've never really shied away from that belief that we still have to have an emotional connection with. And that I put on this tip sheet was that, really, how does that interact? And my internet says unstable, so I hope I don't disconnect here. But I want to have you think about, how does that really change what you do every day? are you, make sure that you're paying attention to how do you make your clients feel? Do you maybe slow down a little bit? Do you ask them more questions? Maybe the types of questions that you ask them, instead of closed-ended questions, asking them open-ended questions, and really remember that many decisions that people make, they're not grounded in logic. They really are grounded in emotions. One of the things that we'll talk about in The Power of the Mind, and one of the first rules that we learned in RTT, or Rapid Transformational Hypnotherapy, is that emotions always trump logic. So we might have a special running, or logically we know we bring a lot of value to our clients, or our price point is fantastic. It doesn't matter sometimes if emotionally it doesn't make sense for our client. So listening to our client and making sure that's really what hits home, because at the end of the day, emotion trumps logic. And if we're not listening, we don't know what emotionally connects with them. The other tip that I really want to hit home with is, sales is not a dirty word. And I've been on a lot of calls lately where I can tell and I can sense, and you can sense when you don't like that word. And I've heard people bring up, don't use sales, you're really telling a story. Or you're really, it's really just making a connection. Yes, that's true. You're really telling a story, you're really making a connection. But what's wrong with the word sales? It's not a dirty word. And I had a manager a long time ago tell me, why do you have a problem with the word sales? And I said, well, I don't know. People feel, it's kind of like a car salesman. I don't want to be cheesy. I don't want to be this. I don't want to be that. And she just looked at me really blank and said, well, then don't be that. If you don't want to be that kind of person, then don't be that kind of person. If you don't want to be pushy, then don't be pushy. So, you kind of, when you think about it, if you're not comfortable with those kind of things, if you don't want to sound like that, well, then don't be like that. It's not a dirty word. In fact, to me, I've been really proud, and I'm sure you're very proud of what you represent, the services that you represent. Usually we're representing ourselves if you're on this call and you're listening. And so being somebody who's proud of what you offer, and you offer a value, following up, picking up the phone, following up and saying, hey, I didn't hear from you. I wanted to follow up. I wanted to see if you're still interested. Then you're doing a service to them. You're not bothering them. If you think you're bothering them, then you really need to ask yourself why, and really get comfortable with that and get to the core of why you feel like that. Because until you get to the core of why you feel like that, you're always going to feel like sales is a dirty word, or you're going to try to move around that. And that's always going to be a problem. That's always going to get in the way. So your sales can never increase. You can never grow your business if you're always trying to work around it and find another word other than the fact that that's exactly what you're trying to do. So I hope that makes sense. This next tip, remember the 1/3 rule. This one is a great visual, and I couldn't find it. I wanted to find it, but just think of this when your leads are coming in and you have a funnel or your pool of emails and people that are interested in talking to you. Remember that 1/3 of the people that come to you absolutely want your service. They slam dunk want what you do. 1/3 of the people are just kind of looking. They probably aren't going to buy what you want. They wanted to check it out. They aren't what they thought. And then there's this 1/3 in there. Then there's this 1/3 kind of in this, I want to kind of see what he has. I want to see what they offer. And it's that magical 1/3 that you really need to pay attention to. And sometimes what happens is we gravitate to those 1/3 yeses because they're so easy. And I often kind of say, okay, well, we're not order takers. We're not working at a fast food restaurant where we just wait in line and wait for the yeses to come in and say, yeah, Well, of course, those are easy. And of course, we love those. Who doesn't want the ones that say, yeah, I want to buy a session from you. Yes, I want to buy that from you. Those are beautiful and that's fantastic. And those are going to happen. It's the ones we have to work a little harder to create value and follow up and do a little bit of work that we really need to focus on and create value and listen to them and create an emotional connection with that you really need to put your work into. So remember, there's a third that really want what you have. There's a third that probably are never going to buy what you have. So stop chasing them and identify who those are quickly. But there's a third in there that need to be nurtured, that need to be followed up, and that probably will make a decision. And the sooner you can find out if they want to make a decision, the better. Because the sooner you also find out that they aren't going to buy what you have, that's better too. Because you don't want to keep chasing or putting effort in if it's really just not the right fit, and that's perfectly okay. And that kind of leads me to another rule that I actually just noticed here that I don't have written down, but another tip is it's really wonderful to get a yes or a no. It's those maybes. Sometimes you hear on that phone call, well, you know what, maybe I'll give you a call back. I'm going to think about it. And I can remember early on in my sales life, I used to kind of get excited about that. Like, oh, I got kind of a bite here. And I've had many leaders along the way, and I've trained many people along the way to actually appreciate getting no's are actually kind of better than a maybe. And I don't want to say that maybes aren't valuable, because those can still be nurtured as long as you nurture them. You know, don't just say, oh, they'll call me when they're ready. Some will, but some actually need you, and they should have you follow up with them. It's not being pushy. To me, it's actually a disservice to the student. See, I've been in higher ed for so long, I say a student. It's a disservice to the client if you don't follow up, because they deserve to have you connect with them and make sure that they understand the value in what you're offering. They deserve to have another opportunity for you to understand what they're looking for and what they're seeking, and making sure they understand what you offer. And maybe it just wasn't the right time when the last time that you spoke with them. And remember, we're not pushy. If you are pushy, then you need to just reassess what you're doing and ask for some feedback from other people and really reassess kind of what you're doing. But a yes is great. A no is good, because then you know when to stop following up on that person. And the maybes, you have to really reassess and kind of figure out when it's good to push and when it's good to kind of slow down and maybe not work them anymore. This other bullet point, empathy during discovery call. The discovery call, whether you call it your phone consultation, a discovery call, I really want to give you this tip, because I have recently been having a lot of phone consultations or discovery calls with new practitioners. And it reminded me of something, because not very often are we on the other end of that phone with being a new client or a new customer. Sometimes when we're on this end or we're taking the calls, we kind of forget what it feels like. But it might do you a good service to be the person on the other end and feel what it feels like, so that you remember what it feels like to be kind of nervous on the phone. So I really want you to kind of maybe get out a piece of paper and think about, what do your clients feel like when they call you? So some of them feel excited. Some of them feel really jazzed to get to know what you want, what you offer, what you do. Maybe they're really versed in what you do, so they have excellent questions. They're very educated in your field. But there's a lot of people that don't understand your language and your terms, and they're nervous, they're intimidated. Maybe they're even shaking. Maybe they've never, ever even thought of calling someone like you before. So maybe they're very overwhelmed. They're just really out of their comfort zone. So think about how that feels. How that feels is they don't even know what to ask. So one of the exercises I used to do with some of my sales teams was say, let's write all the feelings that our clients might feel when they call us, and write all those emotions down. And so knowing those emotions, how would you approach your discovery call now? Knowing those emotions. And I doubt it would be, how can I help you? What kind of questions do you have for me? How do they know what questions to ask? They're completely overwhelmed. They're scared. They're nervous. So just something to think about, right? If you're scared and you're nervous, you don't have intelligent, questions right off the tip of your tongue. You're like, well, I don't know. I just kind of called to explore. You know what? Thank you so much. I'll think about it and I'll call you later. That's not really what you want them to say. So just empathize, walk in their shoes. And it's a really nice way to make a connection as well with your clients. Remember, it's an emotional sale, and it really helps you listen and connect with them, and they really feel that connection with you at a very genuine level. And the last bullet point here for a sales tip for a consultative sale is, we've all heard, keep it simple, sweetie. There's some other ways to say that. But another way to think of this is that confused people do not buy. And so we get so excited with all of our offers and, 10 spots for this and 10% off here, and I'll throw this in and I'll throw that. And I just want to remind you that there is beauty in keeping things simple, especially in the beginning. So keep things simple, keep the process simple. Make sure that you're speaking your client's language. Make sure you're not using too many acronyms. If what you sell has a lot of acronyms, or if an evaluation you use has a term, or you have little, tools and things you're familiar with, we start to rattle those things off. And it's like another language to the person on the other phone, and they don't know what you're talking about. And they start to think, gosh, maybe I'm in over my head. I don't know what they're talking about. And confused people just don't buy. They start to shut down. They start to disconnect with you, and it's not what you want to happen. So also, stop beating around the bush. Sometimes when we confuse the process, there's nothing wrong with asking for the sale. Again, I think it's a disservice not to ask for the sale. I think it's a service to make things simple for your client. And at the end of a call, or the end of whatever the objective is of that call, and to say, is this something that you want to move forward with? Is this something that you want to do? You can't get what you don't ask for. So don't forget to just ask for the sale, whatever the sale is at that point in your process. So those are those tips that I thought were the most important to bring up right now for the consultative sale. And then I do want to go into the powerful rules of the mind. I'm so thirsty today. I'm in California, and we are like having a heat wave. I don't know if anyone is in California with me. But a couple of powerful rules of the mind, and I'm looking here at the clock, so I know we only have a few more minutes. But in hypnosis, we learn a lot of powerful rules of the mind. I thought these were completely applicable to sales. So when working with your clients, remember again that emotions always trump logic every single time. They completely trump, and I think that's really applicable when you're thinking of applying, your value. Your mind responds to the words and pictures that you give it. So when you're creating that value, remember to create words and pictures in your client's mind. Use really visual words and images so they can imagine and picture what they're going to get or how they're going to feel. Okay, that's really important. And what is expected tends to be realized. So if you expect something from your clients, for them to do something, it tends to be realized. So don't be afraid to show and tell them what you expect from them, because that tends to be realized. It's very powerful for that power of assumption. And when running your business, whatever you focus on, you tend to get more. I know you've heard that before, but if this is going to be the month you're going to focus on new appointments or whatever you're going to focus on, you tend to get more. So put sticky notes everywhere. You make your beliefs, and then your beliefs make you. If sales is something you're not comfortable with, you can flip that around and your beliefs start to make you. And the mind learns by repetition. It avoids pain and always works towards pleasure. So if you don't like making new phone calls, or you don't like following up on people because it makes you uncomfortable, just keep doing it and you'll eventually love it. So those are my tips. I hope you enjoyed it. I don't know if anyone has any questions.
Yeah, those are great, Christina. Thank you. I like the information you brought up about the 1/3 rule, right? Because I never quite thought about it in putting people in one of 3 buckets and really trying to come up with a way to work with those people that are in their specific bucket, you know, that it's not one size fits all. And keep it simple. I love that. And one of the questions that we had that came in, and anybody watching live, if you do have a question for Christina, please drop it in the chat box. But we had a question come in about complex concepts. And if you had any ideas on how to break those down for people so that they can understand them, you know, RTT, obviously, there's a lot of things that are going on in there. It can be very complex. Some of our other practitioners or people watching that are business owners that have a very complex business, you know, how do you go about making it simple? And I know we're putting you on the spot with this, but do you have any recommendations on how to break things down so that people can understand them better?
Yeah, I mean, if there's a certain way to put things into larger buckets, I know, like you said, with RTT, there's quite a few complex steps. And so I've had to kind of find a way to put them into 3 larger buckets and to kind of conceptualize them so that on the discovery call, I can just discuss kind of a first phase and then the middle phase and the end phase. So I can certainly speak with people offline a little bit more details, but I think if you can conceptualize each sort of phase or bucket, and then what is the feeling or the value or the concept of the general, concept of each of those buckets or phases, what's the feeling they're going to get or what the value is of each of those, that might help break it down. Or what's the action they need to take or do for each of those.
Yeah, I like that. Kind of a step-by-step process where they don't feel so overwhelmed. And maybe what I'm hearing is when you have a client, you know, they enter into phase 1 of working with you. And what is part of phase 1? What are you going to do together? And work on identifying what emotions your client is probably going to have during phase 1. What are some popular questions they might ask during that phase? And try to address those either through the consultation, address them through, you know, an email. Perhaps you have a link to an FAQ document on your website of popular questions that people ask about what you do. I've even seen some complex businesses, you know, have a page where they have like a dictionary of what the word is and what it means. So I love that idea of putting it into different buckets and explaining things along the way, but seeing it from the other person's point of view. You know, I've done at this point, I don't know how many sessions for clients, and I rarely stop and think, I wonder what it's going to be like for their first time. You know, I just jump in. And so it's a great point that you bring up.
Yeah. And I will also say that, remember, just because we offer a lot of services doesn't mean we have to tell our clients about everything. Recently, I was on a sales call and we talked our way right out of a sale because we told our client, everything. And by the end of it, they said, I don't need all that. I only need one of those. And I'm just going to go over here because they only offer that. So sometimes you have to really listen and know that you don't oversell something, or maybe they just don't need that much. And we can push them away. They can only digest so much.
I love that. Give them bite-sized pieces. Explain what you feel you need to explain it in that phase, that bucket, and then open it up to, what questions do you have that I can answer? And then, they might have something. Most of the time they might say, nothing right now, but at least they know that you're trying to explain it and you're open to receiving what questions they do have about your work, about your background, and so on and so forth. So I think that they're excellent tips.
Great.
I believe that those were the only questions that came in. So I just want to say thank you again to Christina. Christina is available for you to book RTT sessions with her. And so just go to spiritandspark.com for more information. You can always send us a note through the website and ask to be connected with Christina as well. Happy to do that. So Christina, thank you so much for sharing all of your sales tips with us today. I think we all learned a lot and really good reminders for everybody watching. So thank you.
Happy holidays, guys. Bye-bye.
Thanks, you too.